start at 7:15, I think.
Okay. This is WA7YBS. Henry and Dayton. I'll be remote control today. So, just doing a little tune-up here. So far, I've heard Jerry, W6JRY. Morning, Jerry. Have you in the number 1 spot? Heard Bill in 6BC2. So Bill, I have you in the number 2 spot. And I heard Vern, K6VXY, out there getting ready. So good morning, Vern. You're in the number 3 spot. So anyway, we're kind of just standing by here and locking in check-ins as they check in. So number 4 is open. If you want to get in here on the pre-net login, the warm-up round. This is WA7YBS. I'll be standing by. Number 4 is open.
And W7MS for numero 50.
W6SSP.
WA6OPE.
Okay. Yeah, let's see, in the number 4 spot we have Chuck, K0DWC. Good morning, Chuck. And in the number 5 spot's Mike, W7MS. Good morning, Mike. And in the number 6 spot, Steve, W6SSP. Good morning, Steve. And in the number 7 spot's Tom, WA6OPE. Good morning, Tom. Everybody's got good signals. So let's see if there's anybody else that's wanting to get checked in here. Number 8's open if you want to check in now.
U6 Able, Queen, Uncle.
Okay, there's Bob, W6AQL. Copy you just fine, Bob. You're in the number 8 spot. Anybody else? Number 9 is open. Good carrier. And if you want to check in, number 9 is open. Do it now. Okay, we might as well go ahead and get the net started here, and better early than late. Not all that early, but anyway. Let's see, 55 degrees this morning. It's 104 yesterday here in Dayton, but it was only 104 a few times, and only for a minute or two. It was mostly 102, 103 for a few hours. So a little bit toasty, and as I say, 55 degrees this morning, so cool overnight. That's the weather report. We're on the 32V3 and listening on the Raycal RA17L. So let's do a rundown here. Get started. Round 1. Let me run the list down by everybody again. Number 1 is Jerry, W6GRY. Number 2 is Bill, N6BCT. Number 3 is K6VXY. Number 4 is Chuck, K0DWC. Number 5 is Mike, W7MS. Number 6 is Steve, W6SSP. Number 7 is Tom, WA6OPE. And number 8 is Bob, W6AQU. So let's start with Jerry. W6JRY, WA7YBS, Vintage North Harry, radio net. Go ahead.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Henry. WA7YBS in the group, W6JRY. Well, good morning to all. Copying everybody, all okay here in Forest Ranch this morning, where we have, right at the present time, is 78 degrees. And our high yesterday was 104. which is up there, and the old air conditioner run and run and run, and we're not looking forward to the upcoming power bill for what's going to be going on for the next few days, I guess. Anyway, let's see. Projects here. I have been getting few little things done bench-wise down in the basement. In fact, it's a little more pleasant working down here than any place else in the house, and haven't been outside where there are projects to do, but avoiding that right now. For Henry, I've got a little problem with one of the projects I've been working on. It just won't go away, and I think I mentioned it a couple weeks ago. I missed last week. Anyway, I'm still messing with Western Air Patrol radio, and I can't come up with a decent schematic for it. I've hunted around and so on for one, and the only thing that I've been able to come up with is a place called radiomuseum.org, and I wonder if you know possibly if any of the info on some of the Western Auto stuff showed up in the writer's manuals or some of the other type of manuals that were put out for broadcast radio repair or so on. We're working up through the only thing that isn't working right now on a thing is the doggone mixer, which is a 6AU8, and I can't get the thing to oscillate, and the drawing is so difficult to read the way they've done it. And there's no information on voltage measurements or anything like that. I've been looking at some different mixer, 6A8 mixer circuits and so on, and it don't appear to be, the voltages don't appear to be the normal voltages that would be on that tube. But anyway, that's one thing. And one other project here, I don't know how many on the net has heard of this radio, and there is a military connection to it that I found out after working on it. I've been digging around in a what I call my dog radio boxes, that are things that I picked up some years ago, and seeing if I can get things fixed up. But this was the first, one of the very first radios with the small tubes like the 1T4, 1S5, so on lineup. It's a little 4-tube receiver that was made by RCA. It's a model Baker Papa 10. It's called a personal radio. And I think it was one of the first ones of that type that came out in 1940. The connection I did find out after I did get some information of it was used for a bit, or there were some of them that got over to the SOE, the French SOE during World War II. And I'll keep this moving, and I'll mention how that happened later on here. So enough out of me, and I'll send it down there to you, Bill. N6 Bravo Charlie Tango, W6 Japan Radio Yankee.
N6 BCT, are you there, Bill? Well, you know, I thought I heard Bill. You know, you recognize his voice and everything. So maybe he's not there. We'll leave him on the list and see what happens. Let's move it over to Vern there, K6VXY. Go ahead, Vern.
Hey, thanks, Henry. It's K6VXY. I didn't hear Bill either. but gee, up to number 3, top 3. Yeah, I thought it was a 7 o'clock net, and I was up a little early, and I was testing, but then I realized it must not be. I think it was 7:15. Good morning to everybody. It's running the usual equipment here, looking at my wonderful Arc 5 here. I hope you all got your pictures okay. I tried a couple of guys I couldn't get a picture to because their email wasn't as it was stated in QRZ. I have to go through my list. They're not on yet today. Else you should have gotten something. And I'm getting better at that sort of thing. I was at TCARE's meeting yesterday. That's the Tuolumne. Brings up a funny story. Tuolumne County Amateur Radio CA controlled some C system. I forget. See, I'm going to make myself sound like an idiot. Well, that's not hard. The rig here is the IC200. We're driving the SB200 and 7200. Got a neat little antenna tuner, power supply and all that. But the big news is tomorrow on the 17th, the tree cutters are coming out, and there is a very large tree. It's about 50 feet high, right next to the house that was hollowing out, been hollowing out for, I guess, a few years now. So its danger is to fall on the house. So they're bringing a cutter out to take care of that. They have a thing called a, I think it's called a truck buggy or something. In other words, he drives the truck up and then he can get to anything 50 feet up. And that sounds interesting. Maybe I can have him look at my antenna that is up. It's gotten kind of tangled. The rope's gotten tangled in the trees. And maybe think about having him throw a rope over that real high tree. It'll be wide open now because with that tree in front, the 50-footer gone, I got a straight shot at the 80-footer. I can do it with a slingshot, but if he's there, I'll hand him the rope and they just throw it over the tree. That would be fun. Got a lot of wood to take out of here though, because when we had that snow this winter, which was unusual for this area, it really knocked down a bunch of trees. So my next door neighbor got rid of some of the debris from our lot. He hired somebody to do it. I'm not going to complain. It'll save me a few bucks. It's going to cost enough as it is with the tree. And projects here have been very, very active on 2 meters, not 80. And I got a 3100 by Yaesu. I've been trying to program, and I was successful. And then I decided to go back and program my ICOM. But realize there's a lot more to it these days. They've got so many things. It's like computers, you know. Anything you do now, you got to know all the things you click and with the buttons you hit, and the buttons you hit for on the radios for over 1 second, or the button you hit quickly to make it do what you want. And so I ordered a couple older radios. One of them I had stolen out of my car years ago in San Jose, and they broke the window, and they learned from that now they have these things that'll suck open the window, and it doesn't even leave glass all over the car. But anyhow, it's a KDK unit, but that only has 1 tone in it. Luckily, it's the local repeater, but I'm going to have to, I'm now into CTCSS. I got to get an encoder. I was looking on eBay, but I think that's got to go in series with your microphone input. Or I have to look at the schematic, see how they got it wired into this radio, but I want to get more tones. But boy, that is nice. You got one knob for one switch for 1 kilohertz, 1 megahertz. Then you got another knob for 100 kilohertz steps, a third knob for 10 kilohertz steps, and then a little 5 kilohertz switch. I could really get into that. So that'll I got to be doing a lot of radio projects and antenna stuff. So I don't know if it'll happen the next time I'm on, but soon I'm going to be able to get up part of my antenna in that 80-foot tree, at least one end of it, and that should help the signal here. Good morning to everybody. I wrote everything down as Henry was reading it off, but I forgot to write number 4. So I'm not sure who that would be. But the number 4 champion, this K6VXY in Groveland, California, on Mountain Lake, actually. Good morning to all, and it's nice to hear some good old AM signals. Well, I'm now doing FM on one band and AM on another, staying away from that sideband, so everybody sounds pretty natural. Off to check-in number 4. Thank you.
Okay, Bern, K6VXY. Don't worry, Bern, it isn't anybody. It's just me. Okay, K0DWC. Well, so far, good morning to everybody. So far, everybody's coming in. I thought I heard Bill in there too, but I don't know. I don't know if he had a problem or if I just thought I heard him. But I could have swore that I heard a little bit. But anyway, good morning to all. So far, the signals have been fine, and very nice group here this morning. So we're running our standard net station, ART13, R390A, inverted V, 200 watts D104 microphone. So, and while you guys are talking, I'm playing with the torn receiver, just kind of checking stuff out. So anyway, we'll keep it going, and I will send it over to, well, being Ron's not here, I will say the voice of Reno, W7MS. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, okay, Chuck. As long as you don't call me your buddy, we're okay. You know, har har. K0DWC W7MS. Thank you, Henry, for running the show here on the Sunday Morning Military Net. Good reception from all up to this point. And we'll see what happens. Yeah, I didn't hear Bill, but maybe the double was with I. And but then again, Bill's always Q5 in Reno, irregardless whether he's here or here in spirit. So maybe he's due to arrive sometime in the immediate future. But this morning, running the Collins 30K5, listening on one of my purchases from the N7RCA swap meet. That's the Harris RF505 Alpha, also known in the military nomenclature as an R5075/URR. So that was more of a mechanic special, make 1 out of 2, select the best cosmetics, and any defective boards, specifically one in the synthesizer. It was, oh my gosh, just a matter of board swapping to achieve the finished product and some repaint job on the cabinet. So that's the setup here. Also last week I attempted to run the 30K5, but finally came to the conclusion that with the snap bang that I needed to finally take care of that carbon track issue on the relay that bypasses the mod transformer and disconnects the filament supply when you're in CW. So that's been bypassed, still in place on the modulator chassis, but and Henry, this is another question for Henry. It's not the ceramic base relay. It's that Mike infused. It's kind of like a Myconal base tube, but it was kind of designed as a substitute for ceramic applications, and of course it's not theoretically hydroscopic, but it doesn't fare well once it carbon tracks. So I've quite common in some capacitors, high voltage transmitting caps, variable caps, and also in jack bars. So I know Henry knows the name for that product because I think it's originally was a manufacturer designated trademark that became generic, but it's fortunately no flashbang here on keydown, so we can run the 30K5 along with the 302 C1 VFO. So that will keep it rolling. No help for Jerry, but I'm sure Henry has plenty of comments for what Jerry had to say, and looking forward to the elaboration on the SOE application of that simple little receiver there. So formerly the voice of Reno is going to go up to the voice of Steve. So over to you, Steve. W6SSP, W7MS.
Okay, thank you, Mike, and good morning, everybody. This is Steve in sizzling Santa Rosa. We were up to 101 yesterday, but only a couple of days of this, so it's not too bad. Not too bad at all. It's fairly cool out in the flat right now. I've got the windows open, which is something I don't do very often. Don't have to. Anyway, equipment used is the usual Collins 32V1 transmitter, 75 receiver, D104 microphone into a dipole about 30 feet up or so. And I want to mention this coming Saturday is the annual CHRS auction and boneyard sale. This is a pretty big event for those that haven't been there. It's in Alameda, California, by the way. And I don't know, I don't think Tom is the only one that is close by, so hope to see you there, Tom. I'm planning to be there myself. And while fooling around with some of these QRP radios here recently, I came across kind of a neat tip that might be useful for folks here. And that is an accurate way to measure output power, even at low power levels, but it works for high power levels as well. Because probably like myself, a lot of you have just a whole slew of power meters around, everything from Bird 43s to Heathkits to Sierras to some of the Japanese junk that you never really know how accurate these things are. So anyway, if you have an oscilloscope handy, just by measuring the output voltage of the transmitter into a non-reactive 50 ohm primary load, use the very simple formula of the peak-to-peak voltage on the scope squared divided by 400. Give you your power out. In other words, 40 volts peak-to-peak equates to 4 watts. So pretty handy. I've actually calibrated some of my old Heathkit power meters that way. They were actually pretty close, but now I know they get nuts on. So that's the tip of the day. Over to Tom, WA60PE, W6SSP.
Okay. W6SSP, WA60PE, Tom in beautiful Richmond. The sun is just starting to break through the fog. Very cool day. It's still nice and cool and sun gray still. Fog's burning up nearly this morning, and yesterday it burned off fairly early too, but I think it only got up to 74 here yesterday. We had the sea breeze all day, beautiful day. And day before too. We're lucky we're escaping the heat wave here. We do get hot days here once in a while when the fog goes away completely and the sea breeze stops. Then occasionally we will get 90. I think the highest I've ever seen here is about 94. But that's pretty high. So, but nothing like everybody else is experiencing. Let's see. Question for Jerry. You've lived up there in that Chico area and all that all your life. Long time. So, what do you think about the climate change business as far as, do you think it's really hotter than it used to be? Because it's always been hot in Chico. Chico and Red Bluff and all that country up in there. Paradise. Well, hotter than hell. And, I just wondered what you think about that. As far as I'm concerned, the weather hasn't changed around here at all. It's even out in Contra Costa County where I grew up, Concord and Martinez area. It was always hot in the summertime. I remember back in the 50s, one time in Concord, I think we had 5 days in a row. It was 108, 5 days in a row. And that was back in the 50s. So, anyway, let's see, on your schematic problem, I wonder if anybody still has any Sam's PhotoFax. That'd be the first place I would go. If anybody has a complete, it must be online or something.
Sam's PhotoFax seemed to have everything. That was a great source back in the days before computers. And a lot of their information was really good, and they had very good schematics, too. So, and then I don't know whether writer's manuals would be too old or not, or whether they came up into the 50s or not. I'm not sure about that, but anyway, I'm assuming that you tried Sam's PhotoFax, and that'd be where I'd go. But yeah, isn't that funny how these combination mixer tubes, where every once in a while they just quit oscillating, they don't want to work? Yeah, magic. So let's see, what else? Let's see, thank you for the notice about the CHRS meet, Steve. I didn't get whether it was going to be an auction or whether it was going to be one of our junk sales or not. I don't know whether I'm going to make it or not. Flip the coin kind of thing. If it's an auction, forget it. If it's a junk sale, I might cruise by just to see what's going on and see who all's there to say hello. And so whatever. Not too much going on around here radio-wise. I've been actually working on my mast. I'm almost done painting it. And I still have the new base pole. That's almost done as far as painting. I got to drill a big hole in it, put a pivot bolt all the way through it. Had to wait for the notes from the master car. It should be here next week. So a little bit of progress to report on the antenna mast situation. We're still in the temporary antenna here, of course. But, anyway, okay, keep it moving. We'll go way up to Montague. W6AQU, I hope you're copying. WA60PE.
Very good, Tom. Thanks. WA6OPE. In the military yet, this is W6 Able Queen Uncle in Montague. Well, we're looking forward to another hot day. It's 102, 103 projected for today. That's actually a little rain for up here. Well, good morning to everybody in the net. All stations are being copied up here. I heard Bill check in, but then I didn't hear him come back on the call-up. BX1, I have a question for you. How are you modulating that ARC 5? And let's see, Chuck and your ART, we're wanting to get one of ours back on the air, and we've just been too lazy to cable it up. OPE, you're still making it with your limping along tubophores. Projects. Not a heck of a lot up here. We had erected a storage shed, and we've been painting it now, little by little. We either have to paint real early in the morning or late into the evening after the sun is set. No fun out there in this temperature trying to paint or anything. We did make a dump run yesterday. About every 4 months we have to go to the dump, and the dump rates are really up. It's a transfer station located out of Wairika. They charge us $7 a can to dump it, which is quite a bit. Other than that, nothing else to report on. I guess it goes back to Henry. I don't see a number 9 anyplace here. WA7 YBS, W6 Able Queen Uncle.
W6 MQI.
There's Dave. Go ahead and make a transmission, Dave, and turn it back to me. WA7 YBS, so W6 MQI. Go ahead.
All right, Henry. Well, I guess you guys weren't copying my carrier earlier when I tried to check in multiple times on the TCS. Looks like they have decided to stop working. Nice CW coming out of it, but no audio on the AM side.
another project. All right, guys. Yeah, I was copying everybody just fine here in Livermore. And I was thinking maybe it was going to be some pretty lousy conditions with those CMEs we had earlier the week. But it's hanging in there. But that's 80 degrees here in Livermore. It's going to be, I think, 101 or something like that. Tom's question about it being warmer. You know, I grew up in Livermore. Yeah, it was always hot here. We didn't even have AC. And nowadays they have cooling centers for people when it gets into the 90s. I'm thinking, my God, I grew up in this without any AC. 100 plus temperatures. We seem to have survived. But, you know, I don't know. Let's see. I guess that's it for now. I'll send it back up to Henry. WA7YBS, W6MQI.
Okay, W6MQI, WA7YBS. Yeah, I did a little pause there just to see if Bill was there. And I'll put a call out to him and see. N6BCT, Bill, are you present? Go ahead and make a transmission if you are. Okay, well, I have you in the number 2 spot, and although your signal's strong enough, the Q factor was down about 3 or so. I really didn't get what you said, except that you are present. So you're in the number 2 spot there. Jerry, I'll turn it over to you, W6JRY, on the next go-around. And, yeah, good morning to you, Dave. Yeah. So anyway, let's see. Number 1, let's see if there's anybody else out there. Number 10 is open to each military radio net. If you want to get in on the first go-around, go ahead now.
W6TOM, W6TOM.
Okay, Tom, W6TOM. I can hear the dynamotor whine, and there you got a good signal. Go ahead and make a transmission.
WA7YBS, W6TOM. Been listening to you guys for a couple of minutes here. Conditions are not really good today. Lots of QSB. People are not very strong. Dave is the strongest, but he's the closest to me. Yeah, I'm on the ART-13. I thought I'd go and give this thing some exercise. Also curious, what time are you guys starting? Obviously it's earlier because I was out here at 7:15 and I heard you guys then. I'm a little bit surprised. I just got back on Tuesday from the East Coast. I left a couple of days after Brad swapped, so I was back there for like 5 weeks almost. And I also attempted to work Ron on 20 meters, him being in the Azores. Europe is a pretty easy place to work from Massachusetts. My sister lives in Kingston, which is the next town north of Plymouth. It's right on the coast. It's like 50 miles south of Boston. And Ron was able to hear me. He had an S2 noise floor. I had an S4. But I could tell he was there, but I couldn't copy him. No sideband. He does not have a very good antenna. He's got an end-fed piece of wire and a 50-watt SD-WAN. I guess you can't keep anything over there because of the humidity. You can't store it. So anyway, that's the story here. I'm not sure where I am or wherever. So back to you, Henry. W6 or WA7YBS, W6TOM.
Okay, Tom. Yeah, 100%. Copy. Good, strong signal here off the ART-13. Doing good. And, yeah, okay, I'm being back in Massachusetts there for 5 weeks. And, yeah, well, came back in time for the heat, I guess. And so anyway, yeah, good signal. And let's see. Yeah, we do start at between 7 and 7:15. It all depends. But it depends on, it's just for the summer. Just for the summer. We'll go back to 7:30 probably along about September or so. This is just because, at 8:30, it's all over. Propagation has gone somewhere. Certainly not here. But anyway, good morning to you, Tom. Good signal. See if there's anybody else out there. Number 11's open. If you want to check in, do it now. Okay. Let's see. On Jerry's project on the Western Aperture, I have a complete set of riders, even volume 23, which I don't know, that's in the 50s sometime there. I know positive Western Air Patrol is in there, in the riders, but I need a model number. If you can give me a model number, I can, if it's in riders, I can scan it and email it to you. Yeah, but give me the model number on the next go around if you have it. If not, email it to me, and I'll if I have it in the riders. If it's in the riders, I'll scan it and send you a copy that way. It should be in the riders because I think it's probably with the 6A8. It sounds at the latest it would be 1947 or so, because they were using up those World War II surplus tubes as fast as they could, and so anyway, yeah, the using it as a converter, with a combination mixer and oscillator is a pain, but that was the way it went. So anyway, that's the deal on the Western Air Patrol. RadioMuseum.org. You have to be very careful. The guy that runs that's in Switzerland, and his website is all based on contributions, and he doesn't vet anything. So what is posted there is, sometimes it's right, sometimes it's not, and it's never checked for accuracy. So, it's just one of those things. The way he operates, it's all on contribution of information. Mike, on the carbon tracks and the insulating material, the only thing I can think of is that kind of black stuff that was kind of like fiberglass. It was like Delrin or something, and then there was the brown stuff that was the national called R39, and but I mean they had all kinds of that stuff. And of course, they had to have the special names. Like white ceramic was called isolantite, and you can't call it white ceramic. It has to have a special name. So anyway, I don't know for sure what that is, but I'm sure it had a special name. And let's see. Let me run on the projects real quick. We are doing the audio chain on the MIT transmitter. It puts out 300 watts. Easy, no problem. 180 mils plate current, 2,000 volts on the 4-250A. Puts out 300 watts without a problem. So it's doing good. But of course, the audio chain was completely missing. But we are working on it, and it's coming along. Testing microphones and things like that. The other project is the antenna project for the shop, which is a 135-foot center-fed dipole antenna. I got the mast up yesterday, despite the heat, 3 times being out there in the 100-degree. Can take it for about, almost not quite an hour. And that's with several excursions into the shade to cool off for a little bit, but we got it up. And no problem on that. I got an interesting offer from N9AMI from John for putting the antenna ends over the trees. He volunteered a drone. He said we could lift the wire up with the drone and put it over the ends of the trees instead of shooting a slingshot. Interesting. And so, anyway, thanks, John, for that offer. I really don't have to go that high, so just toss them over the tree limbs, and that'll be fine. But it was an interesting offer. So that's the projects. Let's start round 2. Up to Jerry, W6JR1, WA7YBS.
Okay, very good. Henry, WA7YBS and the group W6JRY. All good on everybody. A little bit light on Bill there, but I'd heard him in there. And let's see, Henry, good on your projects there with the audio chain for the W6MIT radio rig. And I'm sure we'll hear that before too long on the air. And that ought to put out a decent, really a nice signal. And good on your shop dipole project there too. Well, I'll give you the information on the Western Air Patrol. It's a model 66, and the chassis number on the chassis is 13759, and it has a serial number of 37244. This radio was made in about 1938. My main interest in the thing is it's something I'm trying to get to work for my son. He wants it because the radio ended up being a Depression-era gift to his grandparents from some of their friends, and they all chipped in to spend $24 to purchase this radio in 1938 for my in-laws. So that's the reason for the attention and trying to get the thing back operating. And there was a radio repairman. There was 2 of them in Chico in that era, around the 1940s, late 30s, 40s. One of them called the Radio Doctor. And Henry, with some of your past restorations on, you may have even run into some of the vacuum tubes that circulated around with the Radio Doctor stickers. He put one on every tube he tested, and the activity and so on it. But he was good at doing a bunch of modifications, and he's worked on this radio several different times back in the 1940s, and the wiring is just really screwy compared to what this schematic, which I can't hardly read from that Radio Museum outfit there is. I don't have any writer's manuals anymore. Years ago I had some, and they have passed by the wayside years ago, probably 10, 15 years ago, and I'm sorry that I don't have them anymore, but anyway, that's the story on that. And good morning to Dave and Tom. Tom, you got a good signal in here. Your ART-13 copying you just fine. And of course, Dave, you're always pounding in here. A little more information on the RCA Victor model Bravo Papa 10. And it's really an interesting little radio. It's a metal case box, fairly heavy, using the standard 67.5 volt plate battery and a D cell for the filaments and so on. But it's right in the era of when I think the late 30s, when they come out with the little peanut tube, the 1T4, 1S4, so on, that series of tubes, and they found their way in a lot of the early military equipment, like our BC-611s, and the other one, BC 728, which I'm still looking for a nice one of those somewhere, a BC 728. That was a receiver only, 4-button push thing that they used in Jeeps and so on, early World War II. Anyway, the information on that, the use of that was pending the production of the MCR-1, which they call the biscuit tin, which ended up, they finally got those in production in 1943. Well, 150 of these BP-10 RCA receivers were taken over by a guy, commander for Operation Orion, by the OSE, or the SOE, and they did deliver 150 of those little RCA radios for monitoring the broadcast band. It's very similar to the way the Sweetheart radio was used. They were produced, I think, in Sweden, developed by another radio engineer, and they were just a receiver, but they were used a lot. Small receivers were used a lot and airdropped, and different ways of getting them to the underground groups for monitoring the BBC. And of course the RCA BP-10 was just broadcast only, but when they come along with the MCR-1, that Biscuit 10 receiver, these things I think are pictured in a book called Wireless for the Warrior, Volume 4. I don't know. I don't have that one. A friend of mine, Lee, has that one. So that's the dope on that. Let me check any other notes here to anybody else. Steve, okay on your formula for easy monitoring? A friend of mine mentioned that to me, and I think he wrote a little article about the same thing, ND6T up in Weaverville. Same thing you're talking about there. And okay on everybody else's activities, and it's time for me to move it along to Bill. So down to you there, Bill. N6 BCT in the group, W6JRY.
Because they're on the W6POW receiver, and it worked from the beginning, but then when it came to my turn, it didn't work. Anyway, so that's the story. Otherwise, I'm still using the same aircraft type. So there we go. I've been doing that this afternoon on 4:30.
Okay, Bill. Yeah, you're talking to John today at 4. I got that part. Burn in Pine Mountain Lake near Groveland. And interesting, I've been writing down the temperatures most of you have indicated. And this first comment is for Tom, is asking about WA6OPE, Tom in Richmond, and the global warming. That's interesting. Now they call it climate change to sound more intelligent. That kind of gives you my opinion of the whole thing. But yeah, the temperature here yesterday was very hot. And now that was the 15th of June. I'm sorry, 15th of July. I'd say a year ago, about the 15th of June, all the way through at least late September, it was near or at 100 degrees every single day. And the coolest it got at night a lot of the times was 70 degrees. It was super, super hot. Well, this year has been beautiful by comparison, and that's only 2 years. I'm comparing last year to this year. We got cooling. It's pretty nice. This morning I was out looking at my antenna because the construction people and people are going to be tearing down trees are coming tomorrow. Make sure all is well, and I'm with them when they get here at 7:30 tomorrow. They're going to help me with the rope that holds up the antenna I'm talking to you on when they start, so they don't cut it. That's the plan. Anyhow, So I think that last year, I've talked to a lot of people who lived up here a long time. Last summer was super, super hot, and we know the winter was wet. Also, Lake Don Pedro, for anyone interested, is now full. I don't know where the water came from. I was asking people yesterday, will they speed that thing underground or what? But it's full, and it's risen probably 10 feet or more. It's hard to tell just looking at the shoreline, but all the rough shoreline, which looks like rock at an angle, it's all covered with water now. It looks nice out there. And speaking of that, I would like to, one person on the net here today, Bob up there in Montague, your signals up and down, some of the signals here are up and down quite a bit for QSB or fading, and hard to get everything, but I tried sending you those pictures from the swamp meet, and I enjoyed the time with you there, and it never made it because I couldn't get your email. So maybe it's changed. If someone can relay, I do not copy Bob very well this morning. Maybe do now, but I would like that so I can send him the photos that he would find interesting from that swamp meet. Let's see, that's pretty much it. There was one, oh yeah, I wore my badge yesterday, the T-Cares meeting. That's the Tuolumne County Amateur Radio Service, T-Cares. And I was opening the door for some ladies, and they said, "Thank you, Vern." I said, "How do they know my name?" And I looked at my badge after I left. I forgot I did put my name in rather large letters so you guys could identify me about a month ago. And someone else at the meeting was saying, "Oh, very nice to see you." I don't even know that person. It's right under the K6VXY. I had the word Vern above the squirrel. No one asked about the squirrel, though. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chuck. And I'm glad you got your pictures okay. But I've got to learn how to watch my camera so I take a photo, not a video. That caused some grief. Good morning, Chuck, and say hello to Carla. K0DWC and the entire group. This is K6VXY.
Okay, Vern. K6VXY, K0DWC. Well, I most certainly did get the photographs there, Vern. Thank you very much, and proud of you for toughing that out and getting it out to people. And I know you unintentionally made a video, but I got to say, I know what kind of shoes you wear. So I'll just leave it at that. But you did good, Vern, and we got the photographs with no problem. So great job. Let's see. And good morning to Dave, and good morning to W6TLM Tom. Tom, I'm glad you're back from the East Coast, and got a nice strong signal into Dayton this morning, as does Dave. While you guys have been talking, I've been experimenting with this torn in-finger receiver, and all things being considered, considering the antenna I'm using and the fact that it's summertime, I'm not picking everybody up on this, but I think that might be a different story in the fall going into winter. Right now, as it stands, so what I listened to in the first round, I've shut it down. I just wanted to do a round with that to see what I could get out of it. Naturally, it ended up being at least two of the four strongest stations that it picked up, which was Henry, Gary, Mike, and Dave. They're the only four that I've heard, but I'll tell you what, considering what I just said, middle of summer and fading in and out and everything, that's not too bad for a first time. Plus the fact that I am still messing with the controls a little bit, I'm no expert on this thing by any sense of the word, so I'm still turning a lot of knobs and trying different things. So, you know, who knows? I may not have hit the perfect spot yet on that. So, but anyway, that's what I'm trying to work on. So that's what's going on here. And I'm hearing everybody, including Bill. Bill, I'm glad you're there. I thought we heard you, or I heard you anyway. But everybody's sounding good this morning. So with that, I will send it over to my pal, Mike, W7MS in the group K0DWC.
Well, thanks, Chuck. I am honored and gratified, and I bow before the net control who has this weekend off. Thank you, Chuck. K0DWC, W7MS. Good reception from all. And a few comments. Great on the SOE radio, and it looks like Henry's going to pull that up from the SAMS manuals, and not the SAMS, but the riders, and that's good news. And I think an update. I think I took a look at my 1944 ARRL handbook, and I came up with Micaflex, or Micalex, M-I-C-A-L-E-X, for that product, Micalex. So another one to add R39, et cetera, Henry. But, and I'm sure it probably went by several other different variations, but again, I think my experience, once the carbon tracks, it's done. It's a waste of time of trying to do a save on that. But let me see comments, and we'll get back to you, Chuck, in a moment here. We're saving you for last. I find Steve on the having to break out the slide rule there to calculate power, but I'm going to be a contrarian. But of course, there's the frequency response of the measuring devices, whether it be the scope or the watt meter. That's the other problem. It's a rabbit hole when it comes to I squared R, but it is what it is. But it's a relative measurement, especially when you're comparing watts to dB. What's a couple watts on the dB scale? Nothing. But yeah, it is a great way to do it, especially on low power. So hats off to you, since you've been pursuing the QRP mode. And Tom, great on continuing efforts on the restoration and improvements on the antenna mast. Good on that. And Bob's doing well. Great on the shed. You mentioned that I think a week or two ago, but continuing progress. And of course, comments on ART13's ART13's rule. And I think for a lot of the folks here in frequency, will always be one of our all-time favorites. And Dave, good morning to you. Kind of chuckled at your wants and asks for the PRC 515 documentation. I was hoping that somebody would come up with something new, but all the responses were something old, including the referral to the PRC 515 on .io, which has nothing, which is also just an appendage of on the same .io group that you were already on. But I sucked that one up too. I took a look and said, oh my gosh, it's well, you never know. So I think somebody could have a good cottage industry if they could reproduce either a Rockwell 515 or do a translation on the RU20. But yeah, there are bits and pieces, but if you want the whole enchilada, at least as far as today, it ain't going to happen. And Tom again commented on another frequency in another mode, but welcome back to the West Coast, and doing well on the ART13. Good background acoustics, and doing quite well. So sorry to hear that maybe you're having some issues, but that happens. You always kind of wonder when people hear you well and you don't hear them. But I had a similar occasion Friday evening on the Collins Net where it seemed like everybody else was doing just fine, but I was having issues on the transmit and receive end on this location. So probably latitude, longitude, and also antenna configuration just wasn't copacetic for Friday evening. And let me see here, go on CHRS. And the MIT phone call with Bill. And let me comment on Chuck. Chuck, just by coincidence, 1 in a million, but on EM is a torn EB for sale in the military subset for the Wolfstein. So $300. It is minus the meter, which isn't unusual, but looks complete in an ops match. I was kind of surprised. And not a broad price for such a collectible, and that's assuming it's still there, and the guy it was too lazy to pull the ad. It's been up for a few weeks, but $300 for a torn EB, you can go to Berkeley. How's that sound? And you certainly are a qualified radio operator to strengthen that region. All those controls, besides the AEM, it's certified radio operator. So up to speed, because we know things are fading away. W6 SSP W7.
Okay, thank you, Mike. And we'll say good morning to Dave and Tom. Tom, you're booming in here with your T13.
Some QSB taking into some stations, but pretty much 2.25 for most folks.
And Mike, of course, you're correct. You know, what formula I gave earlier for measuring power. If you're not measuring peak measurement isn't correct for whatever reason, you're not for power reading. But most oscilloscopes we have these days are 100 megahertz or more, so perfectly adequate for HF. And let's see, OPE, you asked a question about the CHRS swap, this CHRS event coming up Saturday. It is an auction and a boneyard sale, so it's both. And they do have a $10 entry fee, which kind of sucks a little bit. Probably worth it. And if you've never stayed later in the day around noon, they have an excellent live football. That alone is worth the price of admission, in my opinion. So I don't know if we'll be there that long this time or not, but definitely be there for the boneyard sale. And Jerry, very good on your Depression era radio. That's pretty cool to have a family connection to that. Certainly worth the effort. I've always thought that the radios pre-World War II probably the golden era of radios, in my opinion anyway. And I have a pretty decent collection of them here, and tombstones. And they're kind of fun to work on too. Let's see, what else? I've got notes jotted down and I can't read. So, anyway, guys, I've got a bunch of yard work to do. Tomorrow's garbage day, and I want to get to it before it gets too hot. So we'll say 73 for this time. I'll listen out for a little while. Over to Tom, WA6OPE, W6SSP.
Okay, W6SSP, WA6OPE. I'm going to do the same thing. It's gone, so mostly gone. A couple of you are still Q5. Jerry's still Q5 where he was. So who knows? Anyway, 73 everybody. Talk to y'all next week. Maybe. Bob, if you copy it, W6AQU, WA6OPE.
Yes, we do. Loud and clear. Hi, Joey. WA6OPE. W6Able Queen Uncle. Well, the band is still holding up for me here, and I was able to copy Bill 100% over there with these 25 watts. Boy, if we could get him 100 watts, double signal strength, that would be great. Got a couple 100-watt rigs, so that's what we have there, but I don't know how I can get him, but we're working. Afternoon day is a good place to go to, I guess. Let's see. The X1, I have for you some information by email, and someone will have to pass it to you. But my email
W6MQI. Bill or Bob turned it over to you. Go ahead, Dave.
All right, Henry. I'm not copying Bob at all. I don't even hear his carrier. Wow, things are really taking a dive here. All right, guys. Well, I'll make it quick. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, it sucks only having half the manual and the part that you kind of really need. I already know how to operate the radio. I'd like to be able to work on it, but unfortunately, that part of the manual seems to be missing in action. Not quite sure why. You would photocopy part of the manual and not the other. But yeah, power output measurement. I use my my HP 8921 Alpha. That gets me up to 60 watts, and works really well down in the milliwatt version for measuring the output of the GRC 106 RT unit, and I use it when I'm neutralizing the amplifier and such. It works really well. And other than that, not a whole lot. My daughter's coming home from Europe this week. She's been there for like 2.5 weeks. She's in Rome right now, and not too far from the Colosseum, it looks like, in fact. But I guess next year, for a family trip, we're going to end up going to Iceland, because she wants to go to Iceland, and I says, well, I want to go there, so I guess we're all going to go to Iceland next year. So that ought to be fun. I've always wanted to go to Iceland and Norway and such, so that'll be fun. So with that, I'll say 73, guys. I know the band's taking a dump here, and I'm last in line, looks like. So back to you, Henry, WA7YBS, W6MQI.
Okay, Dave. 73. Let's turn it over to Tom, W6TOM. Go ahead there, Tom. It's your turn. Well, I guess Tom was a one and done. Okay. Okay, Jerry, I got the Model 66, Western Air Patrol, which is Western Auto. And if we need the chassis number, 13759. And so I'll check, should be in volume 7 of the riders, but I'll check the index and make sure. All of that stuff's out in the shop. So I'll be going out there later today to do something. But anyway, I'll pull volume 7 and see what we got. And so with that, Michael X, yes, all those names, Michael X, sounds good. Sounds like it's flexible mica. But anyway, Bob, very difficult copy. You were down to about Q3, Q2. I had to go exalted carrier on you like I do with Bill all the time. But, put the BFO on 0, yeah. And it helps on Bill quite a lot. And but I had to do it with you, and so yeah, conditions are really changing. So let's do the 73 round, and before the band collapses all together, we have W6JRY to N6BCT to K6VXY to K0DWC to W7MS to W6AQU, and then back to me, WA7YBS. Go ahead, Jerry, 73 round.
WA7YBS and the group W6JRY. Well, everybody's still coming in good here. I don't know, a location, I guess, just the right skip area, kind of fanning out or something, but I still copying everybody above Q5, other than Bill. Just a little of the audio I missed there. But anyway, good on everything. Henry, that would really be appreciated if that schematic might be in there. Might be a big help in resolving. I don't know. It's just you get stuck in a problem. unfortunately, I think there's been some modifications made in there, and I know that happened during World War II when parts were short and so on, because some of the connections looked incorrect to me on the base of that mixer, Pentagrid mixer that's in there. So good, and don't forget, I still have lots and lots of parts here. You know, if you need anything on some of your projects and so on. I've got a shed full of probably 300 or 400 transformers that probably need a home somewhere that I'll probably never use and so on, like that. So anybody needing something for a restoration project or whatever, check with me. I may have it, and still I have thinned down some of the major pieces of equipment I've had here, but still got good portion of it anyway. If Tom's listening there, I forgot to comment about the hot weather thing. I remember days as hot as it is here now, way back in the 1940s. No air conditioning. We were so lucky when we got a swamp cooler, and that wasn't until I think around 1945. But I don't know, when you're a kid running around all over the place, you don't seem to notice it so much. But I do know that they were days that happened in the 40s and in the 50s, and it cycles around, you know, certain times that they were up to at least 115 degrees in Chico when we were living there. And although I certainly do notice when you get the mileage on you, the heat and the cold seem to affect you more than it used to. In other words, you like that narrow range of about 75 degrees or something like that, and gets beyond that, you want to get under, I don't know, I guess we're just spoiled with all these modern conveniences or something, but let's see, any other comments here? Bob, I'm still copying you good up there, no problems, and glad you got the shed done. I guess it's not painted there yet. All you'll do is fill that thing up, and then you'll have to build another shed. So anyway, I'll keep it going here. Say 73s from Forest Ranch. Good talking to everybody this morning, and so I'll send it on down there to you, Bill, if you're copying me still. And 6BCT in the group. We'll be listening out. That's W6JRY, 73s.
Stand by there, Bill, for a second. W4DVQ. Carla, I'm going to put you in after Chuck, so we're going to turn it over to Mike W7NS, so it'll be Chuck to Carla, and then over to Mike. So we're in 6BCT.
Thanks, Bill. This K6VXY Vern, Groveland, California. The QSB, the fading, and the band noise are just driving, making havoc trying to hear anybody. A couple stations are still coming through good. Michael coming through pretty good. Henry, you're coming in pretty good. And Livermore should come in pretty good, and it does. But there's so many of the other stations that I'm getting 25% if I'm lucky. So I'm going to say 73s to all. That's Jerry, Bill, Chuck, and Carla, Mike, Steve, Tom 1, and Bob, Dave, and Tom 2. 73 trees all, and I'll listen out, but it's really difficult right now. Over to K0 DWC Chuck. Go ahead.
K6BXY, K0 DWC. Okay, yeah, this is going away quick. I'll say my 7.3s, and thanks everybody for being there. Henry, thanks for doing the net. And I will send it over to Carla, W4DBQ, and then I think she sends it over to Bob, W6AQ, or Mike, excuse me, I'm sorry, Mike, W7MS gets it. So Carla, then Mike. So W4DBQ, K0 DWC. 7-3s, guys.
K0DWC, this is Whiskey 4 Delta Victor, Quebec. Well, good morning, fellas. I know half of you are gone and some can't hear, so I'll make this quick, and I'm glad Mike's after me because it's a question for you. I ran into a guy down there at Baker Hughes. I accidentally said something about being a ham radio operator, and he is big on with the record players and the old tube amplifiers, playing the stereo. He's got a whole stereo room, and he's kind of in a club called the Tube Rollers, and they switch out tubes to play with the audio. I was totally lost on the whole thing, but I didn't know if you knew about these guys or not, or if you do anything like that. But I just was wondering about it. I thought maybe you would know. So I appreciate you, Henry, for letting me butt in. And guys, I'll keep it short so the conditions are still good in a way. So I'll say my 73s and hand it over to Mike, W7, Mexico Sierra, to take it. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, thanks, Carla. W7MS here in Reno. Yeah, I'll keep it short. No, I'm not familiar with that, but that's, I'm not surprised from a hobbyist standpoint. Tube rollers, that put a smile on my face. I think under various, we all do that, whether it's to compare black plates to gray plates, 12AX7s, and not to get into triple mica insulators and etc. But interesting. So I'm not familiar with that guy. It doesn't ring a bell, but I appreciate that. You were doing quite well. Great audio, piercing the local. We've talked out 75 meters, whether it's from a distance or actually on the ground wave. Here, I'm hearing some nuances of a bye-bye stuff. But one comment here on the power measurements. Yeah, I've got an Oak Hills Research WM2, which measures in decades of 100 milliwatts, 1 watt, and 10 watts. And that was gifted to me from a friend's estate here who was a QRP enthusiast here in town. So it's come in handy, relatively accurate, but it's all a relative measurement, especially if you're just tweaking and peaking and going for the peak, and it works quite well. But 7-3s from Reno. It's been a pleasure, and I believe Bob is still there, and I heard Bob just fine in the last transmission. So let's see what happens, and if I'm in error or Henry's more than welcome to correct me. W6AQU, W7MS.
Thanks, Mike. Would you relay to Vern, if he's still there, my email, my call sign at 4fast.net, right?
Yeah, okay, Bob. Let's see if Vern is still there. And I'll interlope here a little bit. K6VXY W7MS. Do you receive me there in Groveland, California? Sorry, Bob, no response from Vern. So back to you, W7MS.
W7MS. And the dwindling roll call here on the military net. W6A Bull Queen Uncle. Morning to Carla. You just popped in for a minute, but you're loud and clear here. All right, well, yeah, conditions are just going bad. Or the band is changing. The sun's getting higher, and of course, emitting more F's down here. So it's a good time to say 7:30 bailout. Look for everybody next week. Maybe we ought to start earlier, 6:30 maybe.
And that won't fly, will it? So, looks like maybe everybody's gone. So if it jumped MQI, can't hear me at all. And I still normally not. Thomas gone. I'll throw it up in the air. We may have to have YBS get things going again. Good morning to all. This is W6A Queen Uncle.
Okay, Bob, W6AQU, WA7YBS. Yeah, you were 100% that time. Just the in and out of the band while it's changing. I'll email your email address there, Bob, to Vern, and we'll see what he does with it. But that way he'll have it. So with that, we'll say 73, everybody, and thanks for your participation in the Vintage Military Radio. That is appreciated. Chuck will be in net control next week, and I'm going to go ahead and shut the net down. This is WA7YBS, closing the net and signing 73.